A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahil aliyyil azim. Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel, ni'mal mawla wa ni'man nasir. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu ala khatimun nabiyyin wa tabibi nafusina wa shafi'i zanubina bil qasim Muhammad. As-salatu was-salamu ala ahli baytihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin al-masumin al-mazlumin wa yahibullahu minhum ar-rijsa wa tahhirahum tathira. Lanatullahi ala a'daihim ajma'in. Amma ba'd, faqad qala Allahu fi Qur'anihi al-hakim wa furqanihi al-majid wa huwa qawlul haqq. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ya ayyatuhan nafsul mutmainna irji ila rabbiki radiyatan mardiyya fadkhuli fi ibadi wadkhuli jannati. Salawat. I have the honor and privilege to recite the 27th to the 30th verses of Surah Fajr, which is the 89th chapter of Quran. The translation of these verses is, O satisfied soul, return to your Lord, well pleased and well pleasing. Then enter among my worshippers and enter my paradise. Salawat. We have entered into the fourth stage of our topic, Islamic Gnosis, which is the Islamic Marifa and the understanding of Islam. And I thank both the hosting Imam Bargas, the Al-Markazi Imam Barga Al-Murtaza in Houston, Texas, USA, and Zainabia Imam Barga of San Antonio, Texas, USA, for hosting these majalis, for the Zikr Azab, for Zikr Ahlul Bayt, Zikr Imam Hussain. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept their efforts. Please recite the loud salawat for them. As you know that we are entering into the fourth phase of our topic, and Islam is a huge topic, and that covers different corners and areas of our life. It is a complete religion. I mean, you name it and it has a solution. You name a problem and it will give you a solution. And that is the reason why our logic, our intellect, our mind tells us to follow this religion, Islam. And it is absolutely possible due to our master, our leader, Imam Hussain ﷺ, for his great sacrifice that we are able to follow this religion, Islam, in its original, genuine form. Please recite aloud salawat. As you know, Mu'mineen, that these majalis and this zikr is also a form of an ibadah. It's also a form of a worship of Allah. When we pray, like our 5 obligatory prayers, those prayers are also a form of an ibadat. When we talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our talking is an ibadat. When we listen to the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that zikr is an ibadat. So right now we are doing a form of an ibadat where I am talking, you are listening, and we all are sharing this ibadat for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is our relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. that we relate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a worshipper. And when we relate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a worshipper, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all the blessings that we have. For example, the planet that we live on, it is also a form of a blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we have a sort of a relation with this planet as well. We relate ourselves with this planet, we relate ourselves with the universe. So we have a relation with this universe. And what is this relation about? This is the relation of user. We are a user of this universe. So we have established two forms of relations. One is the relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a worshipper. Second relation is with this universe as a user. Okay. So we are using this universe and we're taking benefits of this universe. For example, the planet that we live on. On this planet, we have an exact specific level of oxygen in the air. It is not more, it is not less than what we need. It has a certain quantity of carbon dioxide. For that, we have plants. And the plants, what they do is like they take away the carbon dioxide and then convert them into oxygen for us. So we use plants. So we have established the fact that we're using air and we're using plants. Then we have water, river, water. We use that. Then we have sunlight from the sun. So we have so many different blessings. I'm not going to name all them all. It's impossible for me to name them all. But we have blessings. So we relate ourselves with this universe as a user of this universe. So again, we have a relation with Allah as a worshipper and relation with the universe as a user. Then there are some other kinds of relations. For example, we have social relations. Like we all have a father, except for Prophet Jesus and Prophet Adam. We all have fathers. So that is a relation of seniors to juniors, father to son. Okay, so that's another form of relation. Then we have a relation of son to father. In Islam, we have different responsibilities. As a father, you have a different responsibility towards your son. As a son, you have different responsibility towards your father. So there are two different relations. Seniors to juniors, fathers to sons, juniors to seniors, sons to fathers. Then we have equal to equal, and that is brother to brother. And then we have another form of relation. That is a relation to your own self. For example, me, I am a Zakir al-Abed. Me, I am a mortgage loan officer. So that is a relation to myself. This is a self relation. Somebody is a doctor, engineer, businessman, or somebody who is young, is still a student, So that is a relation to his or her own self. So we have established 4 types of relations. Father to son, son to father, brother to brother, and your own self. Since we're talking about Imam Hussain, so let's see what is his status in this. When we look at Imam Hussain ﷺ, we see that the Imam Hussain, my Mawla Aka, his father is an Imam. His son is an Imam. His brother is an Imam. And he himself is an Imam. So all of these relations are at the category of being infallible Imam. Please recite aloud salawat. These Imams, these Aima, these infallible leaders, the successors of the Prophet are the reason why we have this religion in its original form. They have taught us a lot. Some of them are in the form of books, some of them are in the form of documents, some of them are in the form of lectures, sermons, some of them are in the form of prayers, some of them are in the form of ziyarah. For example, we have a book formed, which is a Quran. That is in a book form. Then we have the sets of sermons, lectures, and we usually call them, Nahjul Balagha, peak of eloquence of Imam Ali alayhi wasalam. Then we have a huge sets of prayers. And we have also compiled them in the form of a book, and we call it Sahifa Sajjadiya. Then we have lots of ziyarats, like Ziyarat Warisa, Ziyarat Ashura, Ziyarat Jamia. By the way, speaking of ziyaras, we have an Urdu session of majalis going on from 1st to the 12th of Muharram by Allama Ishrat Abbas Jafri Sahab Qibla. And he is speaking on this topic of Ziyarat Jamia, very informational, very knowledgeable. If you understand Urdu, please go ahead and listen to those lectures. They are usually after Namaz Maghrib, about 9:15. So anyway, back to the topic. So we have Quran, Nahjul Balagha, Sahifa Sajjadiya. We have different ziyaras, and that we can learn Islam from. Now, I want to pick quickly the Quran and Majid first. That is the first book that I had mentioned. And I want to find out whether is there any sort of scientific authenticity in it. I usually recommend to read it for everybody. I mean, you can read it, recite it as much as you can to learn from it. But there has to be a logical proof that this book is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the creator, from the person, from the personality who is authorized to create this universe. So when I went back to the Quran and I opened up, so I found a lot of scientific proofs in it. And I just have a couple of them in my mind right now. So I'm just going to quickly go through it because my topic is not the scientific technology or the inventions. My topic is Quran and Islam. So just one of the example is one Belgian Catholic priest in France, probably. His name was Georges Lemaitre, and in French is Lemaitre. He discovered something in 1927, almost 100 years from now. And what he did, he proposed that the universe is expanding constantly. And what he discovered is like there is a red shift of a spiral nebula that is constantly expanding. And he did research on the basis of Einstein's expanding theory of universe. And this theory was confirmed like about 50 years ago when we had a better scientific equipment, better space technology to find out whether the universe is really expanding or not. So that is what a very recent discovery of the science, of the modern science. So I wanted to find out, hey, let's see, what do we have in Quran if there is anything in it? And I did find one ayah in it, which is the Surah Anbiya, which is the 21st chapter of Quran, and verse number 30th. Since we don't have much time, so I'm just going to quickly go through the specific words that I need from it. It has a word of expanding, but I just want to quickly read the translation so that you understand it. In this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, I'm just translating in English, that did the unbelievers not realize that the heavens and the earth were one solid mass? Then we tore them apart and we made every living being of water. So the heavens and earth were once a solid mass. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tore them apart. When anything tears up, it expands, it moves. And this ayah was revealed more than 1400 years ago. So now you can imagine that the recent discovery of like maybe about 100 years or so, when we discovered like the universe was expanding, and we did not know that before 100 years. And now Quran is talking about the expansion of the universe 1400 years ago. This is a proof that this Quran, this book is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the authority. Then there is another theory came in, and that theory is about the moon not having the light of its own. And the theory is like the moon has the light, which is actually a reflection of the sun. Okay, and that was discovered about like 50 years ago through the invention, through technological equipments that were invented back then. So I found an verse in Quran, an ayah in Quran. It is the Surah Furqan, which is the 25th chapter, verse number 61, and it says that most blessed is he who set a constellation in the heavens and placed in it a great lamp and a shining moon. So the moon is not a lamp. Otherwise, it would be considered, it would be a part of that lamp that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just mentioned. So Allah is mentioning lamp separately and a shining moon separately. And when we check the Arabic word of it, the Arabic word is the munir. Munir. Munir is not the proper word of light. The proper word of light in Arabic is Dhaw, D-A-W in English, Dhaw. Zawul Shams, for example, the light of sun. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using the word munir, and munir means the reflected light. Again, 1400 years ago, Quran talking about, Now let's go to the third example. I'm going quickly because we don't have much time. I have to finish it quickly so I can reach to, what my intention is for the tonight's lecture. Then there is another guy in 1850, Richard Christopher Carrington. He determined that the sun also rotates. And that was the first discovery ever in 1850. Quran is very clearly talking about it. In Surah Anbiya, which is the 21st chapter, verse number 33, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that it is He who created the night and the day and the sun and the moon. Each of them is floating in its orbit. Each of them is floating in its orbit. So clear. It was unheard of before 1850 that the planet or the sun is like orbiting or moving at all. They were considered as the stationary planets, a stationary sun before 1850. And here, Quran is talking about them floating in its orbit in the space 1400 years ago. So this is a self-explanatory ayah. So anyway, my goal is not to talk on space technology, but to prove that the Quran is the book of miracle. Quran is the book of Allah. Please recite aloud salawat. So Momini, we must accept this Quran after we have established the fact that the Quran is the authentic book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we must accept all the orders, everything in it as granted. No questions, no ifs, no buts. Just take everything from this book Quran as granted, without questioning, without doubting for a single moment, without doubting for a single word from it. This is the proof. Please recite aloud salawat again. Now the same Quran, if it talks about the change of heart, the conversion of ideology, this is what my goal is, to reach you guys there. That sometimes we have a lot of disbelief, sometimes we have a lot of doubts. So what do we do? What should we do? So let's talk about one of the issues here. That we all know Pharaoh in the era of Prophet Moses. He claimed himself to be the God, Na'uzubillah. He claimed himself to be anti-Islam. He claimed himself to be the anti-truth. And he was considering Prophet Moses at that time as a major threat for his disclaim or him being God. So what he did, he planned a little scheme to disrespect Prophet Moses, to prove him wrong, because Prophet Moses was constantly propagating Pharaoh as being just a human being, just like everybody else, and him not being a god. So what Pharaoh did, he once called upon it's just a long, detailed incident, a long, detailed story. I'm just going to concise this for tonight's lecture. Anyway, what Pharaoh did is like he called upon a lot of magicians. And then he called upon Moses, and he had told magicians before everybody came in that do some sort of a trick so that the prophet Moses gets defeated in that trick and get trapped in that trick and then gets humiliated. And this will be my way of disrespecting him and proving him wrong. So this way I could prove myself as a god. So anyway, all the magicians came, and what they did, they had ropes in their hands, and they threw the ropes on the floor. It's a long story. I'm just making it short. They threw the ropes on the floor, and the moment they threw the ropes on the floor, those ropes became snakes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered Prophet Moses to throw his stick. He had a stick in his hand. Prophet Moses threw the stick, and that stick became a dragon. Probably, most of you know of this story. That dragon then ate all of the magicians' snakes. All of the magicians' snakes. By the way, those were not the real snakes. Those were the illusions. Those magicians were not the real magicians. They just knew how to trick it. So they had the ropes in such a way that they looked like snakes. They appeared to be, like snakes, but they were not the real snakes. But Prophet Moses' stick, that became the real dragon, Anyway, so that real dragon, ate those snakes or ate those ropes. And when those magicians saw this, they immediately converted their heart, they immediately converted their ideology and changed their hearts from being the follower of Pharaoh to the follower of the God of Prophet Moses. Please recite aloud, Salawat. And so those magicians saw this trick. Those magicians saw this magic. Those magicians saw this miracle, as in Islam we call it, from Prophet Moses, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the stick became dragon, and then the dragon ate their ropes. Mind you, that Pharaoh was a very powerful ruler and very cruel ruler. It is impossible in normal circumstances for anyone to go against the ruler Pharaoh. But those magicians did. It's a big credit to them. Those magicians did. What they did is that they converted their ideology. They changed their hearts. And Prophet Moses was standing there, the magicians were there, and the Pharaoh, he immediately threatened those magicians that how dare you that you converted your ideology, that you changed your heart without me allowing you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut your hands, I'm going to cut your feet, and I'm going to hang you till death. That was the punishment for magicians. And what magicians did, they remained on the religion of Prophet Moses at that time. And they said, no matter what you do, Pharaoh, we have converted our religion, we have converted our ideology, we have the change of heart, and we will continue to follow the God of Prophet Moses, that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that is such a strong belief of those magicians on the God of Prophet Moses that they never converted, they never changed back to being follower of Pharaoh at that time. This is the strength of the belief, and they got this strength by that single miracle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Please recite aloud, Salawat. Mu'mineen, those magicians had to see a miracle in order to convert their ideology. They had to see the miracle in order to change their heart. But then there is another personality, much later than Prophet Moses' time. And that personality was in the era of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam. That personality converted his ideology and changed his heart without looking at any miracle. So this personality has a much, much, much higher status than those magicians. Why? Those magicians again had to see the magic in order to develop the faith on Prophet Moses. But this personality did not have to see any magic, did not have to see any miracle, and yet this personality is still converted and changed the heart. And this personality is very famous, is the Hur, Janabi Hur alayhi salatu wasalam I'm talking about. Please recite a loud salawat for him. So Mu'mineen, Janabi Hazrat Hur alayhi salatu wasalam is the personality who changed himself from being in the army of Yazid to the group of Imam Hussein. Such a great change of heart. I just want to talk about a little details, because we don't have much time left. I just want to quickly talk about the details, inshallah. So, but before that, I want to tell you a little bit of a background of Janabi Hazrat Hur, that it is very difficult for a common person to tolerate hunger. If you are in a very good luxurious place, and you would never want to go to a place where you have to face hunger, you have to face thirst, and lots of troubles. It's a matter of life and death as well. Nobody would want that. Nobody would want to be in the captivity. Nobody would want the family members to get harmed. Nobody would want to even face the death. Nobody would want that. So when, and it is more understandable for someone from Imam Hussein's group to go to the Yazid's army. That probably would make more sense, because at Imam Hussein's group, you have a lot of troubles. You don't have water for 3 days, at the night of Ashura, you don't have water for 3 days. You haven't eaten for a few days, there is a possibility of Yazid's army harming your family or yourself, and there's a possibility of killing you. The army could have killed you. You are, very little in number. Yazid's army is in great number, thousands and thousands of army soldiers there. So it would make more sense for somebody from Imam Hussein's caravan, from Imam Hussein's tents, from Imam Hussein's group to leave Imam Hussein and go to Yazid's army. It would make more sense, but it didn't happen. It's just the opposite that happened. And this is why I have this great respect and love and admiration of Janabi Hur alayhi salatu wasalam. Now look at Honorable Hur alayhi salatu wasalam, and his real sacrifice and his huge sacrifice. Janabi Hazrat Hur alayhi salatu wasalam was not just a common man. No, he was not a common man at all. He already had so much. He was leading a successful life in today's term or in our eyes. He had great power. He had a very good position in the eyes of the ruler Yazid back then. He had money, he had fame, he had power, he got it all. And on top of that, when he will finish this battle of Karbala, he would get a lot more, the great abundance of wealth as the icing on the cake. So he already had it all. He already had it all. So I'm just cutting down a few things because we don't have much time. It's 7:47 already. Anyway, so he had it all: power, fame, everything, and yet he is rejecting it all. He is rejecting it all. And he is seeing it. He is right there at the battlefield. He is seeing everything. That he himself, his group, his party, his battalion, his army has everything. And the other group, the Hussein's army, got nothing, apparently. No water, no food. Probably get killed the next day or two. But still, he is living so many luxurious, so much abundance of luxuries to face the hunger and thirst, living such an elevated position to die. And Mu'mineen, all knowingly, all-knowingly. This is the status of Janabi Hur alayhi salatu wasalam. And by the way, the meaning of the name Hur is free. Like free yourself from any sort of propaganda, free yourself from any sort of sins. This is the name, this is the meaning, the translation of the name Hur. And Imam Hussein has a very beautiful saying. At one point, during the whole struggle of this Karbala, he once said that even if you don't want to support my ideology, at least be free. Don't be a slave of Yazid. At least be free. So I just wanted to mention that. Anyway, Hur had another option. Instead of joining Imam Hussein, being a very nice, kind, pious person, he could have simply resigned from his position at the army, and he could have simply left the army. But he left the army to came to Imam Hussein's aid. This is the message of Imam Hazrat Hur alayhi salatu wasalam. This is the message of Hazrat Hur. Having all sort of luxuries, having all sort of power, he could have simply stayed home, or probably would have gone far away from Karbala. I could have claimed that, hey, I was not there, so responsibility is not on my shoulder. But yet he decided to join Imam Hussein. This is the message of Hazrat Hur. And the message to us is like, no matter how many, we all are like fallibles. We all can make mistakes. So this is a message of Hazrat Hur to us, that no matter how many sins we have, no matter how many shortcomings we have, we still have the option to seek the forgiveness of Allah, to seek the intercession of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad to still get the maghfirah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the message of Hazrat Hur to us. Please recite aloud salam. And quickly speaking on some of the shortcomings of Hazrat Hur, Hur, like he had a lot of abundance of blessings, he had committed a lot of sins as well, with Imam Hussein alayhi salam himself. I want to name them for a reason, because I just want to tell you like how Kareem, how generous my Imam Hussein is. This is the reason I'm giving you some of the list of Hazrat Hur's sins. One of them is that Hazrat Hur made Bibi Sayyida Zainab cry. Then I don't have much time, so 7:51 already, I'll just quickly go through it. He stopped Imam Hussein's caravan. He made the caravan of Imam Hussein to come to Karbala. This sin, is the biggest of all. Because of Hazrat Hur, Imam Hussein had to come to Karbala. Hazrat Hur directed him to come here. And that's where the whole tragedy happened. So, and then it was Hazrat Hur who made the tents to move from the side of the river and away from the river on the 2nd of Muharram that I had recited in Masai. And when the army of the Yazid stopped the water, it was Hur as well who was a part and parcel of that meeting where the decision was made to stop the supply of the water for the group of Imam Hussein. It is Hur who wrote a letter to Ibn Ziyad to send Umar ibn Saad, to send Sanan, to send Kholi, to send Hulmara. These are the individuals, very cruel ones. They were sent by the Yazid through the letters of Hazrat Hur. This is the list of the crimes that Hazrat Hur committed. And Hazrat Hur remained as a part of an army until the 9th of Muharram. So Mu'minin, as I said, that those magicians had to see the miracle to change the heart. Hazrat Hur, he must have seen the taqwa of Imam Hussein. He must have seen the ilm of Imam Hussein. He must have seen the nur of Imam Hussein, the love in the heart, the behavior of Imam Hussein, the care, the truth, to convert himself from the part of the Yazid's army to the Imam Hussein's group. Please recite aloud salawat. Anyway, Hazrat Hur on the 9th of Muharram was very nervous, very anxious. He is traveling back and forth, thinking about the Yazid's army and Imam Hussein's group. He is thinking about heaven with Imam Hussein alayhi salam, thinking about Yazid's army in hell. He's thinking very deep. And then the Fajr time came. Imam Hussein alayhi salam said to go and ask Hur that will they pray behind Imam or will they have a separate congregation, a separate Jamaat? Imam is now testing Hur's ideology. Imam knew. Hur replied, if Hussein is leading the prayers, how can I pray individually? Mind you, he is still a part of Yazid's army. So he had that spark in the heart for the love of Imam Hussein. Imam realized after this message from Hur that he's going to pray behind him. Imam realized that Hur still has some iman left in him, some ideology left in him. Anyway, Hur prayed behind Imam. After the prayer is over, Imam began to move his horse. That's when Hur came to stand in front of Imam and said, I have no choice but to follow the orders of Yazid, that to arrest you and take you to Yazid in Syria. Imam didn't pay attention to him and continued to try to move his horse forward. Hur suddenly put his hand on Imam's horse's bridle. In Urdu, we call it lagam. The moment Hur did it, Imam said, may your mother grieve your death. How dare you stop my horse? Hur tried to say something, but stopped. And then he said, if your mother were not Fatima, then I could have said something. Imam realized that Hur is the lover of Ahlul Bayt and respects Sayyida Zahra Salamullah alayha. And the lover of Ahlul Bayt will not go to hell. Hur's ideology is building up from a night before till the dawn. Chain of events constantly attacking Hur's ideology. From a night before, listening to little children cry for water. Anatash! Anatash! What a thirst! What a thirst! Hur kept on anxiously talking to his friends and thinking and feeling guilty of bringing Hussein to this situation. The whole night, he kept himself seeing between hell and heaven. He kept on seeing heaven with Hussein and hell with Yazid. Eventually, at the dawn of Ashura, Hur removed his amama from his head, fastened his hands with it, accompanied by his son, and walked towards Hussein like a guilty criminal. When Mawla saw Hur coming towards them, he said, Abbas, come and see. Our guest is coming. Ali Akbar, go and welcome him. Hur shouted from the distance, Mawla Hussein, is there any possibility of my pardon? Imam cried and replied, Hur, like your name, you are free in this world. You will be free in the world after. I forgive you, and may my Allah also forgive you. Hur asked to go first to die for Hussein, and Hussein agreed. Hussein might have thought, when we can't even offer water to the guest, why keep him there thirsty? Hussein, let Hur go first. Hussein let Hur sacrifice on his Mawla Agha Hussein. Hur wanted to go, then suddenly his son, Ali ibn Hur, moved towards father and said, Baba, how is it possible that father gets killed and son remains alive? Let me go first. Ali ibn Hur left on a horse, fought with the enemies of Hussein, and eventually got injured and fell off the horse and shouted to his father Hur that Baba, come and help me, Baba. Let me ask all the fathers listening, how would a father feel for an injured son? Ali ibn Hur shouted, Baba, help me. Hur quickly went to help his son. When he got there, you know what he saw? When Hur went there to help his son, he saw Hussein is already there. Hussein is already there, carrying Hur's son. Hur said, Mawla, we are your slave. Mawla, he's the son of slave Mawla. Hussein said, no, no. Father, no father should carry a killed young grown son. I will carry your son's body. Mawla, Mawla, you are also a father who helped you carrying Ali Akbar's body. Who would help you carrying your son Ali Akbar's body? Look, Fatima Zahra, your son needs help in Karbala. Lanatullah al-Kazimin al-Zalimin al-Munafiqeen. Maybe get the Shafa of Imam Hussein, just like Imam Hussein was Kareem and Haftakur. So the Shahid people